because he's doing 400 3 times a week. I think that's what he's saying. It's a weird question.
Maybe he can rewrite it because I don't want to answer that he paid.
Yeah.
Is he trying to increase the HCG? Or is he trying to increase the test? What is he trying to do?
No, he's coming off the test.
I think he's doing PCT off the test, and I think he's on the HCG. He wants to know if he should increase from 400 to 1,000 3 times a week. I'm guessing.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, and you could go right there. There's no reason why you can't. I mean, you don't need much more than 1,000 to 1,500 HCG a week. After that, it becomes like bloat city.
There's also a debate whether or not PCT does much of anything.
No, but I mean, HCG will work, but like the outcome is good. If you destroyed your HPTA, it's destroyed. Doesn't matter what you do. Yeah. It might make you get there faster, but the outcome's gonna be the same.
Yeah, and wouldn't it be better to do like a combination of HCG and like recombinant follicle stimulating hormone, like HMG? Be better to just like do part of both.
HMG is the same as FSH.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. I was just. Oh, he is doing that.
It says regarding.
HCG and FSH. Oh, okay. I completely skimmed over that. Yeah, so he's already doing, polytherapy. So I mean,
how long was he on 200 tests at 25 var? Because if it was like 12 weeks, he's probably going to come back if it was his first and only cycle.
I mean, 200 tests shouldn't even be 100% suppressive.
Yeah.
I would just think on your own you would just come back.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Unless if you're really, really unfortunate, you'd have to really draw the short straw.
I talk about it a million times, but they had there's the Harlem study. You can look it up, but where they had, I don't know, it was like 100 guys that were on gear for a long time, like very suppressive amounts, and they had one group do PCT and the other didn't, and the long-term recovery, I think it was like after 8 months, was the same in both groups.
Yeah. That was actually a really good study. There was like a lot of extrapolations you can pull from that. I mean, even on the side of cardiovascular disease risk, I think the ejection fraction on average depressed by 5 to 10%, with like a total of 900 milligrams a week for most people, and it took about 8 to 9 months to reverse, something like that. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. There's a lot of stuff. I mean, again, it's one study, so take it with a grain of salt, or like just don't put like all your eggs.
Well, I used to do echoes at the largest inpatient hospital in the nation, in the top 10 heart hospital. So we did more echoes than just about any hospital in the nation. And you would see, and I thought it was from the blood volume, if I had to guess, but you would, guys would come in and you could tell. And when I did their echo, they would kind of talk to me about it. But a normal ejection fraction is like 65%. But even like a normal functioning heart on a guy who was on gear, it would be about 55%. And I always assumed it was from the huge increase in blood volume, and that heart's got to pump against all that additional volume. It's not going to get the same contractility.
Yeah. Well, I thought that. And then I also thought maybe just the larger heart itself, with every contraction, it's going to pump more total blood. So the ejection fraction doesn't have to be as high. Like maybe it's an adaptation.
But the cavity will increase, but then the heart muscle thickens and the heart thickens into the cavity.
So it cancels it out.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Yeah. No, that makes sense. And the blood volume, that's interesting. Yeah.
All right. Next question here. Flare 93. At which resting heart rate would you consider using a beta blocker, and which one would be useful?
I'm not a huge fan of beta blockers. They decrease exercise tolerance. They decrease your workload output. They can affect breathing. And if you have sleep apnea and you have, because it's blocking the beta 1 receptors in the heart, which slows the heart rate, but there's beta 2 receptors in the lung. You block those and the lung's less efficient. And when you combine that with sleep apnea, I mean, obviously there's a use case. If you have, resting heart rate of 110, and your blood pressure's high, it's not my favorite as a first line defense. Like it seems like it's becoming with bodybuilders where, as soon as they see a resting heart rate above, 85 or something, they want to be on a beta blocker. It's anti-clen. It's the opposite of clen, basically. So if you think of it that way, it's, your workload tolerance is going to be reduced. You're going to be less efficient at cardio. You're going to have to struggle with high intensity training as far as weight training. Your heart rate isn't going to be able to climb as high as you might need it to on a high rep set of squats. There's definitely a use case, and it's very, as far as like longevity, a lower heart rate is good. But as far as when you put everything together, if you're going to try to stay competitive in this sport, it's not my favorite to implement.
Yeah.
Nebivolol seems to be the go-to that most people use.
Yeah, everyone now. Yeah, because it seems to have beta 3 agonism, which is kind of there's beta 1 receptors in the heart, beta 2 receptors in the lung, beta 3 everywhere. The beta 3 you want to stimulate because that can kind of boost metabolism. But if you lower your, artificially lower your heart rate and prevent it from getting high, don't be surprised if you can't do high rep leg work, or don't be surprised if your deadlift, or your bent over rows or things like that go to shit. It's always, obviously I'm not telling anyone not to focus on health, but it's not always my first line approach to improve health. If obviously if resting heart rate's 110 and your blood pressure's high, that's something you need to focus on more than your training, obviously. But guys, I see guys with, my resting heart rate's 85. Should I get on a beta blocker? It's like,
just self-medicating with prescription heart medicine is not taking care of your health.
Yeah, thank you.
That's
plain
Russian roulette.
Why your heart rate is elevated. And the heart stuff, people should be screwing with their own heart. Like, go see a cardiologist.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't start taking drugs. Your heart rate needs to elevate, and to live a long, healthy life, you have to be able to get your heart rate high, so your resting becomes lower on its own.
Exactly. Good
That's
point.
the way to fix your heart. You want to train intensely so your heart actually is pliable. If you falsely hold it down, you're not making yourself any healthier.
Yeah, that's a great point. You want to be able to get your heart rate up so you can have a low heart rate. You don't want to. You don't want to prevent your heart rate from going up, but to artificially have a low heart rate.
I don't know.
Nebivolol, by the way, is selective beta 1. So that's why guys tend to use it.
Yeah, it's interesting because not only is it block beta 1, but it seems to activate beta 3. It's really interesting, but I still I don't know. It's like the reason people have a low heart rate, like Kurt said, is because they've spent time getting their heart rate really high, and it becomes so effective that it doesn't need to pump fast at rest. If you bypass that whole system, you're not really. It's a shortcut that not doing the thing you think it's doing, probably.
Yeah, the three things that affect your heart rate the most, I think, and the low hanging fruit people need to address, is their sleep quality, like how much and how good of a sleep they're getting, because that'll affect heart rate variability, resting heart rate. So unfucking their sleep is probably the first thing. The second thing would be incorporating cardiovascular exercise, like you guys said. The more cardiovascular fitness will naturally just suppress that resting heart rate more, and you'll have better heart rate variability throughout the day. And the third thing would just be stimulants. How much caffeine, how many stimulants are you consuming? Maybe you have a review of that. If you're that guy that's dry scooping pre-workout 3 times a day, maybe stop doing that.
Yeah. And weight gain, it doesn't matter if it's muscle or fat. Every time you gain weight, your stroke volume increases. It's not healthy to weigh 300 pounds, whether it's fat or muscle. It's not healthy.
Yeah. Well, that's
all right. Yeah. Amy, I got a question for you. It's a liposuction question.
Bring it on.
JT, if a client is obese and gets liposuction, would their maintenance calories stay the same before and after, since the fat is not metabolically active? Benefit of higher maintenance after fat loss or not?
Yeah, they would stay the same. The amount of fat that we remove is pretty nominal when you think about how many, trillions of cells are in the human body. I mean, even if you're doing like large volume liposuction, now this is assuming you're already metabolically healthy going in. Liposuction is not meant for like massive weight reduction. It's really meant for body contouring. So there should never really be a point where you're removing so much fat that it's really going to change much with your resting metabolic rate. And ultimately, your needs might be slightly higher because your body's working really hard to recover. Liposuction is extremely damaging to your body. It's pretty aggressive, and your body doesn't know the difference between surgery and injury. So when you kind of just violently rip all this fat out, there's a recovery need there. So I never want people to drop their calories after surgery because they're not going to heal as efficiently. So it's important to, know that going in. But people always think that, liposuction is going to be this magical fat loss tool or weight loss, and it's not. Like, your weight probably won't change after just a normal amount of liposuction.
Yeah, and you need to find a good doctor, because if you've ever seen bad contouring, you can, where it's all dimpled, and if you can see it a lot on celebrities. Who was one? Lindsay Lohan, I remember, got liposuction, and it was very obvious in her midsection. It was not done well, and it looked like a golf ball.
Yeah, and it is really hard to come back from bad liposuction for two reasons. Primarily if you have irregularities, like those we can usually fix. However, we've seen several cases where patients come to us who have been overly cleaned out, where they have taken way too much fat. So the skin is almost adhering to the fascia layer of the muscle. And there's not a lot we can do. I mean, we have to go in and we call it subcising and kind of cut these scar tissue bands that are now attaching that skin too closely to the muscle wall, and try and add some fat back in to give that cushion back. The other thing is if your legs are overly cleared out, you get like weird irregularities. Is that Lindsay Lohan? Or is that just a bad lipo? I'm like, that skin looks like that of a 50-year-old woman, not a...
just bad lipo.
Yeah.
I pulled up bad lipo.
Oh, yeah, it's devastating. I mean, it's really hard. Like, those are see, there's an example of somebody who's just overly cleaned out about the umbilicus right there, and that's why that's like stuck. It just, some of these too, like some of these issues will resolve as people heal. Like, it might look really irregular at first, but as you heal, it gets, things kind of loosen up and get better. But I mean, there are definitely times where people come to us and like, there's really not a lot we can offer them, especially on the legs. Like, if they've had too much liposuction on the back of the thigh, it can make your cellulite look way worse. It can cause your butt to drop. I mean, it can be pretty bad. Like, you definitely, like Justin said, you go to somebody, don't go to Sonobella. I mean, there are some good doctors at Sonobella. I'm not trying to knock them as a company, but
that Alabama long butt.
Yeah, like going to someone who really specializes in body contouring is really key.
I had it done in my 20s, a long time ago. I had my love handles and lower back done, and they fucked it all up. The guy I went back in a few years ago, he cleaned it up.
Yeah. Yeah, and as long as there's still fat there, we can fix it.
But I had lumps.
Yeah, that's what I mean. We can make irregularities go away if there's still enough fat left to kind of smooth things out.
It was the same dude that botched my gyno surgery too. He fucked all of it up. Yeah, 20 years ago. I remember like somebody telling me like, well, you should make him go back and fix it. I'm like, why would I go to the guy that fucked it up to fix it?
No, that's only going to make it worse.
That's doubling down on a bad bet. I'm not going back to the guy that fucked it up.
It's like Ronnie. Remember when he was on Rogan? He's like, do you ever get a second opinion? He's like, no. Just same doctor, all 14 surgeries.
Oh, man. All right, Kurt, this one's going to make your head explode. Dave Marcus says, if microdosing tests daily, is there any real benefit to sub-Q or intramuscular injections?
No, why would you put an oil sub-Q?
Thank you.
It doesn't make any sense. Doctors did this because people are afraid of needles. So they were like, well, if you use an insulin needle, it doesn't hurt. It's just not the way it's supposed to be absorbed.
Yeah.
You're taking something that has such an extremely low risk of bacterial infection, oil-based stuff, and making it a risk for infection.
And lumps and discomfort, and it's not absorbing properly. And again, unless you're a super high aromatizer, why are you injecting your test, like microdosing your test? You're not going to get much out of it. You're literally just mimicking what your testicles were doing at that point. Like, you might as well just stay natural.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not into whatever's happened in the last 10 years in endocrinology. We're going to change all that crap because it's all wrong.
The TRT doctor stuff, some of the crazy shit I see is just insane.
Just so fucking stupid.
That bothers me a lot because we're going to ruin this Goldilocks phase we have where TRT is so readily available. We're going to ruin it. It's going to be not a thing again.
Yeah.
I have a good one for you. I did a consult with the guy. I hope I'm not ratting him out, but his doctor had him on 100 milligrams of test, and he told him that his test levels were too high, and he lowered him down to 40 milligrams. I sent this to Kurt.
Oh,
40.
God.
What the fuck?
What's her name?
40 milligrams.
So
what is 40 going to do?
What is it? Sip?
Well, factor out the ester, like 33% for SIP. Isn't it?
That's what's a natural male, like 10 to 20 milligrams a day? Like your
10
natural
to 11.
It's
Like 11 on the top
5.
end.
Yeah.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
So that works out after the ester is removed to a whopping 4 milligrams of testosterone a week, assuming that's actually measured correctly and that it's right. Most test is giving lose them in heat, so it's not really dosed at 200. That's if it's a perfect 200 milligram bottle, you'd be getting 4 milligrams a day.
Well, he was asking me
And
what he
that's
should do,
assuming
and I
he's
told him
absorbing 100% of it.
Yeah,
he was asking me what he should do, and I said, fire that
On a
fucking
new
doctor.
Yeah, find a new
buy a
doctor.
bottle of test and learn how to do it yourself.
Yeah, the doctors it's so weird with doctors. Like, as a male, I have low test. Can you give me testosterone? No. As a female, you walk in, here's a bunch of hormones.
When you're 14,
you're
like,
12.
I feel like I'm a boy trapped in a girl's body. All right, here you go. Here's like.
Well, not even that. Even if you're just a straight girl and trapped in a girl's body, it's it's like you're 14 years old. I had my first period. We're here. These will make you regular. Here's a bunch of hormones.
Isn't birth control methyl estradiol?
Yeah, it's just conjugated estrogens.
Yeah. And they give it to 15-year-old girls.
Mm.
Oh, look at this way.
I was in the doctor's office this one time. This 13-year-old girl was in there, and they wanted to get on birth control, and the doctor was like, she's there with her dad, and the doctor's like, well, is she sexually active? And the dad goes, nah, she just lays there like her mom. Sorry.
Oh man,
this is in Alabama.
Yeah, I was going to say, was that in Alabama?
Justin filling in the jokester for Colin since he's out today.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right, here's another one, Kurt. If using an anastrozole with 2 times weekly test injections, difference in using the same day or take an estradiol day after test?
No, Arimidex is 2-day half-life. It doesn't matter when you take it. But a lot of times 2 times a week might not be enough to keep the estrogen under control. You might want to split it and, every other day, half a milligram. I don't know what dose.
Exemestane you'd get away with twice a week, eh?
The problem with the exemestane, Aromasin, is Aromasin's not an effective drug in men, so we should really get away from using that. That's an effective drug in women after tamoxifen therapy for 5 years, premenopausal. In men, it doesn't seem to block estradiol; it seems to block estrone. So that's why on these labs, Aromasin through the roof still. It's just not an effective drug for men. That's why it's not written. Like in the United States, no endocrinologist is writing Aromasin for a man. The guidelines for prescription are post tamoxifen for 5 years. Then it's given.
I see. Yeah.
So it's not.
That makes sense.
I would just get rid of it. And also, even the theory, even if it worked, why would you want to kill estrogen receptors? Like, why would you want to destroy receptors for any reason? Like, one day you're not going to want. Like, Paul and I both have super low estrogen now. Like, I want to get rid of some estrogen receptors. No, just get leaner.
Yeah.
Arimidex is the only one that people should use. Letrozol's most likely too harsh for most guys.
Yeah, letrozol's rough.
Letrozol's brutal.
What's your thought on Aromasin being a suicide inhibitor? And because then it's permanently binds. So when you stop it, your estrogen doesn't recover until you produce new enzymes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
How long does that take?
On purpose. I wouldn't get rid of receptors.
Because what are you gonna when you come off testosterone or just go down to a TRT dose? What are you gonna do then? Like you're gonna have such
I wonder
low
if that's
response.
why my estrogens crashed, because I used Aromasin on my prep.
Yeah,
potentially.
I mean, to some extent, if you're going to come out of a prep and blast test in the off season, there's some because if you stop Arimidex right away, then you can get a little estrogen rebound. when those enzymes get freed again. So in some cases like that, like a suicide inhibitor, if you're going to be blasting a gram of test right after the show and not using any AIs. But yeah, if you're on a heavy cycle and using Aromasin, and then you stop everything and go to like a TRT or a cruise period, your estrogen is going to be rock bottom.
Well, that's what happened to me. That's in the exact scenario I was in. Well, that explains some things.
Yeah.
All right, another paid chat. We got a lot of them today. This is a good one. Daniel Popovsky. What are the best bodybuilding tips for a natural?
Don't get fat.
cardio.
Yeah, don't try to get big. It's not, I mean, you're not going to get huge. You're just going to get fat, and it's going to reduce your ability to grow because your testosterone production will be blunted and your aromatization rates will increase. Try to stay lean, look good, lean and ripped and muscular. And that's your best bet. You're not going to be 250 pounds and huge. You're going to be 250 pounds and fat. Be 195 and shredded, and everyone will think you're jacked.
Yeah, I was
You
going
are
to say
jacked.
patience is probably the big thing I'd recommend.
Maybe not
Because like in
195,
the first few years, you'll gain 80% of your lifetime natural gains, and then you spend the next decade gaining the other like 10 to 20%.
There's a question by Zionic on Nabivolol I want to discuss. Is Nabivolol as a selective beta 1 antagonist? I don't know. I don't understand how it can be selective to antagonizing the heart and also allow your heart rate to increase. He says, yeah, Nabivolol will allow your heart rate to increase for exercise.
I think bisoprolol is more selective.
If it's selective to beta 1, that's its whole action is to suppress heart rate. I don't understand how it allows your heart rate to increase if its only action is to suppress it. That's like saying, caffeine will let you sleep. You know?
Yeah, I don't know what Xionic's going on about there.
Yeah, so here's what it says. I'm asking ChatGPT. ChatGPT is so handy.
I know.
It said, yes, Nabivolol does allow for a relatively higher heart rate compared to other beta blockers due to its unique pharmacological profile. Here's why. Beta 1 selectivity. Nabivolol is highly selective for the beta 1 and adrenergic receptor, which I probably slaughtered that, which are primarily responsible for the heart rate contractility. While it does reduce heart rate, it tends to do less dramatically than other selective beta blockers or beta blockers like athanadol or metoprolol.
So it's basically less effective.
It also has nitric oxide mediated vasodilation. Nabivolol enhances nitric oxide release, leading to vasodilation, which can help with increased heart rate.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really interesting molecule. It's an interesting beta blocker. I just, it can't block beta receptors and allow beta receptors to be active. I mean, there's
a third one on here. Preservation of sympathetic tone. Nabivolol has minimal effect on beta 2 receptors, preserving sympathetic control of blood vessels and other organs. This can also result in a more stable and increased heart rate in response to physical activity and stress. So there you go. There's the
I got to read up on it more. It's an interesting molecule, but
I'll tell you what, bisoprolol is strong as hell. I mean, I'm on 5 milligrams of bisoprolol. My heart rate when I'm asleep is in the 30s.
Holy crap!
Like, yeah, it's like it scares me sometimes. I think to myself, that can't be healthy. I don't know what my nurse is doing, but yeah.
You're Lance Armstrong.
Yeah. But right now, resting heart rate's like 52 beats per minute, 51, and I'm like sitting here talking. Mine's pretty low.
Mine hasn't been that low since I was in college playing 4 hours of basketball a day.
Yeah.
Back on the natural thing, though, I wanted to touch on that again. You're 100% right, Justin. I've seen so many natty guys that will just eat and eat and eat and put on 40, 50 pounds, think they're gaining muscle, and then they just, all they're doing is getting fat.
I mean, you can look impressive, and if you see any like the top natural competitors, they look huge on stage. I mean, they're 160 pounds, but shredded, with your shirt off, looks huge. But that's about the best you can get. You're not going to look huge in a 3X shirt.
You ever notice that the natty guys seem to be able to get harder on stage?
Yeah. Well, they don't have the. I mean, there's
no water retention.
Yeah. Really, I mean, the easiest way to tell also is their shoulders. Natural guys will have really flat delts and really striated delts.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. But I mean, I think it's also too like let's be honest, a lot of assisted guys, they probably make the switch too soon and they don't know how to diet hard or train hard. And it's almost like they use the anabolics as a crutch. And it's like instead of when they're hitting a plateau, instead of doing like a diet break, adjusting their nutrition and training, managing fatigue, they just up the dose or throw another compound in. And you can only do that like to a certain extent and still see a positive outcome. Eventually, it doesn't achieve the look that you want, and then you get all these guys coming in that look under conditioned, and
Okay, let's see here. Man, this dude is obsessed with the fat question. He's back again. So what is the lowest amount of fat I can consume as a natural bodybuilder? Can I
I mean, it's
consume?
just proportional to your calorie count, and there's not like a number. It's just, again, like, eat good foods, eat whole meat protein sources, eggs for protein, lean meats, rice, oatmeal, potatoes for carbs, avocados, some nuts for fats. It just there is no what's the lowest, what's the highest, what's the extreme. That's not how it works. It's eat good, healthy foods. Don't eat too much of them that you get fat. When you're dieting, eat less of them. It's really, there is no like, what's the extreme I can take it to? There's no answer for that.
Yeah. I can quote how low some of my friends' dietary fat intake gets, and they're some of the best pro natural bodybuilders in the world. They'll get as low as about 25, 30 grams a day at the end of prep. That's but that's what they do. I'm not saying that's what he should do. I'm just saying,
that's for prep.
Yeah.
I mean, calories have to be so low, and you're going to suppress testosterone. It's like, what's the lowest fat you can consume and survive, or lowest fat you can consume and look good, lowest fat you can consume and be strong. It's not just you can go to zero fats, you'll get shredded and be miserable and have zero testosterone, or you can go really high in fats and not ever get shredded. It's just too many. It's too nuanced of a question, But yeah, if you're gonna compete as a natural bodybuilder, there's no way calories will get low enough to be true contest shape shredded without fats getting pretty low. Like Nick said, 20, 30 grams a day.
Yeah,
That's not optimal for hormone production. So, is it your question, lowest fat you can consume for optimal hormone production, lowest fat you consume to be in contest? It's a loaded question. It's too difficult to answer.
Josh says Mike Israel has fat recommendations for natties. I don't know if I love Mike, but
30% of your total calorie intake.
I usually, like, when I'm dieting people down with the natty guys, I'll supplement in some EFA, some flax and fish oil, and then I try to keep the protein sources as lean as I possibly can get them, like chicken breast. I mean, you're still going to get some fat.
Yeah, it's calorie proportional. I probably have fat calories, I don't know, maybe somewhere like 10 to 20% higher for naturals than I do for non-naturals. So their carbs will be lower, their protein will be a little bit lower, but it all comes down to, you need a certain calorie count to get in shape.
Kurt, this is a question for you, Dr. Lipschitz. So Aromasin destroys the receptor permanently as well as the aromatase enzyme?
It doesn't affect it's not affecting the enzyme. It's destroying the receptor.
Interesting. I didn't.
It binds to the enzyme. It stays bound to the enzyme permanently, but it doesn't destroy it. Yeah.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that. I'm not a hormone expert.
Well, we got the hormone.
I just stay at a Holiday Inn.
Okay. Question here. This will be the last one. Will any of you incorporate SLU PP332 with yourselves or your clients? Really excited for this one.
I gotta go, guys.
Bye,
Kurt.
I know Steve has been talking about it a lot lately. I am going to make a video about it. I've actually been looking into it.
I'll watch the video because I don't really know much about that, to be honest.
I'm on the fence about it. I put it in after my last MRI, and I'm going to get an echo to see if there's any improvement. So I've tried to keep all other variables constant, so I can see if it has any impact on things like cardiovascular function, stuff like that, or remodeling of the heart.
I'll be interested to see your results because I don't have any data on it right now.
Yeah, it'll be N equals 1 data, but it's still data, I guess. Yeah, it'd be cool to see. I know that the other SLU is more effective for cardiovascular improvements than the 332, but that's the only one that seems to be readily available at the moment.
SLU, I have my notes here, is a synthetic compound that functions as a pan-agonist of estrogen-related receptors, specifically the ERRA, ERR beta, and ERRY, which have potential exercise mimetic, meaning that it can replicate the physiological benefits of physical exercise. Effectively activates all three ERR isoforms. Metabolic effects. It seems to upregulate mitochondrial functions. I think the main benefit of it, from what I understand. It's an interesting thing. I know guys have been pairing it up with the retatrutide. I think that's what Chase was doing. I don't know. I mean, anytime anything new like this is out, it always kind of scares me.
Yeah, I don't. Cause, yeah, I don't like to have you don't like to make your clients guinea pigs, But that's the problem is anytime there's a new compound, everyone wants to try it. But there's always new compounds, and how many of them become, how many of them are still incorporated in our approach to things 10 years down the road? Almost none of them. So it's whenever I see a new one, every client, it's like the Nebivolol. It's interesting for sure, but I don't like that just immediately everyone wants to jump on it because there's new stuff like that every 6 months, and 10, 15, 20 years down the road, we're still all using, it's still the basic stuff. Everyone, none of those things stick. Very few of them become a permanent mainstay in the sport. And so I just don't like throwing all my clients on these things when I know 90% of them will not be used in a decade.
Yeah.
I have been on Nebivolol for close to a decade. I've been prescribed it by my doctor I have a abnormal Q wave, and I've had it my entire life. Yeah, I don't know why.
What's abnormal about it?
I don't recall. My doctor told me it was probably congenital. I was probably born with it.
Are you sure is it sure Q? Because there's a QRS complex. There's no Q wave. Is it P or T wave?
I don't recall off the top of my head, Justin.
Because an abnormal P wave would be like a winky Bach or something like that, and that would eventually cause arrhythmias. P wave is that's the atrial contraction before the ventricular contraction, and because the electrical signal originates like up at the top of the heart, and it goes through the atrium, through the Purkinje fibers and the bundle branches, and then to the ventricle. And if there's something wrong in that early part, that's what I would guess it would be. But I'd be curious for personal interest.
Yeah, I'll have to look back at my medical stuff, but they had speculated that it might have been from the Lyme disease.
Oh yeah. Yeah, interesting.
But then the last time I had my heart checked, it didn't show up.
Interesting.
So
maybe Nebivolol's working.
Yeah, it didn't show up. So yeah,
interesting.
The SLU, when they administered it in mice, the mice were able to run longer distances. It also seemed to increase fatty oxidation and improved insulin sensitivity. So I don't know.
Sorry, CP.
Yeah.
I'm like choking on the microphone.
All right. I think that's it, guys. I'm going to wrap this one up. I've got a bunch of stuff to do today. Oh, and thank you, Coco Pam. I don't know what that is, but I appreciate the contribution. And glad we could help you out with your question. All right, folks, thank you for watching. We appreciate all your support. Have a great rest of your